What's good, y'all? I'm Skip.
And I'm DJ.
And we are back for another episode of DeCypherEd. And today we are breaking down Kendrick Lamar's 2025 Super Bowl halftime performance. And before we get started, DJ, how you doing? All right. If you are new to the channel, be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And if you're a returning listener and you want additional content, be sure to either join the YouTube members or become a patron, aka a decoder. So with all that out the way, let's go ahead and get started. First things first, I do want to say is shout out to hip hop, because one thing that Kendrick Lamar did do, regardless of how you feel about his performance, he put hip hop, purely hip hop, on the biggest platform in the world as far as viewership that it's ever been on. So for that, we got to give him kudos. Yeah. You got any thoughts about the performance, or just the?
Yeah, I really appreciate Kendrick really putting forth the effort to do what he felt as though was best for his situation, and not just do what, everybody wanted him to do. Because I feel so at the end of the day, everybody got problems with the set list and what he performed. But if he would have performed exactly what y'all wanted him to, it still would have been an issue.
Yeah, they would have had an issue. They would have had a reason to hate regardless of what he did, because those people, it's not, they're not looking to be satisfied.
Right.
They're looking to find a reason to be unsatisfied, as a matter of fact. So yeah, most definitely keep going. I'm finna fix something real quick.
Yeah, so that's the part I really, really appreciated, because I didn't expect him to do, I'm not gonna say I didn't expect him, but just to see that he did so many songs from Gen X and he just kept it really current, like, I really appreciate that. I enjoyed it because I love that album. So to hear, like he said, this, like in the performance, he said, this is Gen X. We from Compton. Like, so he's letting you know, like, this is where I'm at right now with it, So I just really appreciate that authenticity that he really put forth in the performance. Like, it wasn't really like trying to please automatically. Like, this is me. This is what I stand on. Either you take it or you leave it. So that's what I really like. And just overall, that's what I took from it.
And also in the halftime, in the Super Bowl, like the press, that pre-halftime press thing that they did, I think it was Thursday.
Yeah.
Leading up until, he said he was going to be present. He's not looking back into the past. And also, I think.
Oh, you talking the Ebro?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And people need to.
Yeah.
People also need to look at it from the very obvious perspective of, this isn't his first Super Bowl halftime show.
Right.
And he just performed, as a matter of fact, in 2022. And some of the songs that y'all were asking for him to perform were performed at that Super Bowl halftime show.
Right.
So if he would have repeated that, y'all wouldn't have been satisfied, because I was like, he just did what he did last time.
Yeah. He ain't got no hits.
And also, like DJ said, you just got to respect it for him doing what he wanted to do. And also, he has majority ownership in the songs that he performed from Gen X. So that was another reason. But also, it was something I brought to your attention the other day, DJ. And I'm curious to see what the people watching think. This was basically his super scaled Grammy performance. Because anytime he does a Grammy performance, he's performing the songs from that particular album that he's on the Grammy run for. With the Good Kid era, I think he did something with, was it Imagine Dragons?
Yeah, Imagine Dragons.
And then after that, he did the To Pimp a Butterfly era Grammy performance.
Yeah. And
then he did the Damn era Grammy performance. But he hasn't done a Grammy performance. Well, he didn't do one for Mr. Morale.
Yeah. And
now here we are, Gen X, and he didn't perform there. So it's only right. If you look at it from that scope, you understand. And you also see it as, so he was going to do this regardless.
Right.
This was something like this is actually on brand for him to perform in this way. He just took it onto a much larger venue, that being the Super Bowl and the increased viewership. But it should tell you how connected he is to his core principles that he didn't change despite going to a larger stage.
And another thing too, just to go off of that, I didn't realize the set list was leaked until you told me, like after the show and all that stuff. I didn't know it was leaked, so I didn't hear or see anything about that leading up to the performance. So I went into the performance completely blind. And I love that the fact that his set list was leaked and he still went through with it and performed it in the exact order that the set list, was leaked as. Because even if the set leak was leaked, he still has to perform it. Like, you still don't know what he's gonna do with these songs. Like, he could have mixed them and he could have did a whole bunch of things with that set list. So I'm glad that didn't deter him to switch up and change it just because some people or the internet might know what the songs were. And that was just some real hating ass shit.
And logistically, it's way too close at that point in time to change it anyway.
Yeah.
So it wasn't at that with it being leaked, it's like, all right, so like they still gotta see me do what I do.
Right.
But also it takes time to orchestrate that from the set designers and the choreography and all of that stuff. You're not just about to change that just because the list got out. And I didn't know what the list was. I just knew it had been leaked. So as I'm sitting down and he did the unreleased snippet that they title in Bodies, my wife said, "Oh, is this the leak list? Is this the leak set list? So did they actually leak his real set list?" And I was like, well, don't tell me what it is, because I just want to experience it
right
in the way it was intended to be experienced. And that was the thing that they were trying to do. They were trying to ruin the experience so it didn't feel original. So the whole time they just like, the people are like, oh, so it really got leaked. But it's like, it don't really matter. Like when you go to a concert, like you may not know exactly what they're gonna perform,
but you know something.
And even if you know exactly what they're gonna perform, you still going for the performance. So it doesn't really matter. Like,
the
attempt was to taint the mind of the viewer. But if we have already been to concerts and all this other stuff, it's like, whatever. But I think another thing about it was the intent was to like, oh, so these the songs he gonna do, thinking that they're not impactful. But they're very impactful songs. So it didn't really matter. You know what I mean? So but let's get into the actual performance in itself. The setting of the show starts off as a PlayStation controller. And it's almost like the game, well, not even almost like, it's exactly like the game is loading. If you look on the lights behind the stage, actually up in the upper rows of the stadium.
It's a countdown, like it's building.
Yes, it's counting up to 100, and then once it loads all the way up, it puts in some assortment of buttons. And there has been rumors that it's a GTA cheat code. Full armor. But I looked on Reddit and they was like, that's not the exact code. So I just stopped. But like, it could have been anything. So
I mean, just the fact that it's a cheat code just goes into the video game aesthetic of it. So regardless if that code itself means anything, like it still fits the theme and the reference of the PlayStation controller and the game itself. So either way, I thought it was cool because I did notice that, but I didn't get, like you said, a concrete answer on what it was. So I didn't really include it in my notes, but I do know what you're talking about.
And going off of the video game aesthetic, I built part of my breakdown around the metaphor of it being not only a video game and not only it being a controller, but it being a PlayStation controller and what those controllers represent and how they could possibly coincide with the particular songs he performed in certain areas. So the gaming system loads up to 100%, and then arrives Uncle Sam, aka Samuel L. Jackson. And to the people who don't know, Samuel L. Jackson has a lot of, how do I say this? He has a lot of activism throughout his, not only life, but his career. And so it was a interesting twist of fate for someone with such a big history in activism to in turn be representative of Uncle Sam, the individual or a figment of America's imagination that would be against all of the things that Samuel L. Jackson stood for in his life. And then he's presenting the great American game and goes back to the controller and all of the aesthetic that you get for. It's like, okay, so it is a game. The game is the great American game. So it's how is Kendrick going to play the game?
Yeah.
And once introduced, he announces the American game. And Mama, call you back. I'm recording. I'm gonna call you back. I'm recording.
Okay, babe. Love you.
Late too. Bye. Have to edit that out. I might leave it in there.
Yeah, just leave it in there, bro.
Where was I? Oh, okay. Great American Game.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this could be linked to America itself and its many components to the ongoing and escalating power dynamics due to race, class, gender, financial status, etc., and the Super Bowl and how it is used to push Americanized agendas on the world through advertisement dollars and commercials, along with military presentations of force and recruitment.
Yep.
It could also represent, in addition to the above listed items, the largest stage or game that anyone will have in the world, which one would be expected to follow certain American aesthetics, to placate to conservative American sensibilities in effort to coddle the fragile whiteness of middle America and those in power, literally lying, stealing, and killing to protect those ideas.
Yeah. That's perfectly summed up. I mean, I feel the same way.
Okay. So now that the table has been set for the game, we start to get into what my opinion of the metaphors of the controller signify and the buttons. So now that the table has been set, the expectation is for Kendrick Lamar to play the game and acquiesce to its many nuanced demands while entertaining the entertaining the masses. If it's not obvious by now, Kendrick chose otherwise. And according to theories on social media and Reddit, Kendrick Lamar entered a GTA cheat code, like I said before, for full armor and safety for battle. And this is where we get into the controller stuff. According to an article from IGN.com, the creator of the controller, the PlayStation controller, the original PlayStation controller, designed the original PS1's controller buttons system with functions in mind for each button. Yeah. So let's go to Square first.
Yeah.
Let me go. So Square was similar to a piece of paper that would let players know that button was for menus. And with menus, from my perspective, come trailers. Because anytime you're at the beginning of the game, when you get the menu of what part of the game to go into, it's generally a trailer based behind it.
Okay.
And then connecting that and how that makes sense with Kendrick Lamar, what was the trailer for the GNX album release?
Oh, talking about when he was doing the ball machine and he was shooting it out, and because it was two of them. It was that one, then it was the other one when he was actually walking on the field and the drum majors and stuff.
No.
Not that.
What was the actual trailer for the GNX album being released?
Oh, the snippet.
Exactly.
Okay.
So you see how it starts to make sense from that perspective.
Okay.
So with that,
and he was on the square doing that.
Yes.
Okay, I got you.
That's the menu and the trailer for it. So he goes into that.
Gotcha.
And then with the let me go. So
shit, that's fire.
Yeah, so the square is for menus based on the design with menus come trailers. Being that this song Bodies, which is the snippet, was a trailer for GNX, it stands to notify the viewer that GNX is the motif for the game he's playing.
Damn,
and personally, I knew that he was gonna go full GNX when the panelists were slightly off the field. And they were having the halftime discussion because I wasn't really watching it. So I'm getting ready to get set up.
Okay.
And I was like, oh shit. It was because whatever it was under like a covering. I was like, I bet that's a GNX. Just guessing. Like not knowing, but just like, I bet that's a GNX. So then shortly after they had pulled the cover off, I was like, bet. So he's going GNX thing.
Yeah.
So, so I was like, okay, that's the motif. The song lyrics stand as a trailer or mission statement of sorts for the sentiments he focused on in the album GNX. So when you go back and listen, and this is for y'all too, when you go back and listen to the GNX snippet, Bodies or Tiramisu, whatever you want to call it, when you listen to the words that he's saying, those words are echoed through the entire album of GNX. And that's why I kind of felt like it was going to be on the album, like in hindsight, but it doesn't really fit. So it's got to be on something else to follow it up. And I think with him revealing the second half of that verse, it means something is coming and he's leading to that by extending the trailer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So what did you get from that first initial going into the Body snippet?
Well, But I mean, that's really cool. Like as far as the, what Square symbolizes as the menu and the snip. I didn't get that at all. So I think that just kind of blowing my mind for a quick second. I'm not gonna lie to you. But as far as just like the snippet itself, it's kind of like out the gate, like I'm coming with basically I'm rebelling against everything that y'all think or I should do.
Yeah.
Meaning that I'm coming with a song that I ain't even dropped yet.
Yeah.
Like something that y'all can't even really follow or fathom just yet. I'm still holding on to this. The fact that I'm opening up with this to just, subvert all y'all expectations of what y'all think I should be doing. This is what I'm really on. Like that's ultimately what I got from it, just to show y'all like I can literally do what I want.
Yeah.
When I want. So that's what I got.
And that was the you said it perfectly with the subverting of expectations.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Kendrick has a method of doing that with every album also.
Yeah.
You look at Good Kid, Mad City, it was more urbanized for what people, would consider a rap album, especially a introductory album.
Yeah.
Then he completely subverts expectations with
completely.
To Pimp a Butterfly.
Yeah.
Then after that, he does it again with Damn and goes more commercial after To Pimp a Butterfly, and all of its elements was an ode to classical black music. And then you subvert expectations again
with
Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, and you go for a more minimalistic and personal album off of Damn.
Yep.
Then after that, you subvert yet again.
Yeah, yes.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think every time that he drops an album, he never shows up how he left.
Yeah.
He's even actually and I think that's just a sign of growth. Like
that's what I was just gonna say. Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't expect somebody to show up at 28 how you saw them at 22.
Yeah.
Or 31 how you saw them, or how you do see them at 35. Like you expect people to go through stages of growth and not continually show up as the same person, because if that's the case, other elements of their life aren't evolving, because it's not that they're fake. It's just you're on a constant journey of growth. You're going to be a different version of yourself. It's not a different person.
Yeah.
You're just a different version of yourself as you continue to grow into understanding who you are, especially in that given time. And that was something that Kendrick said too in the interview with Timothy Chalamet. Mm-hmm. He said he's just super in tune with who he is at this present moment in time.
Yeah.
And that also shows that you're bound to change.
Right.
And you shouldn't be beholden to a thought process or a particular set of elements that you projected to the world 5-6 years ago.
Right.
Because if that's the case, everybody would be who they were when they were 18 if you're not allowed to grow, or if you're not trying to grow. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Like each album, with it being so drastically different, let me know that he's actually living life, because each experience on each album is totally different what he's rapping about. And I just don't understand how people in hip hop just don't truly understand or grasp that concept, and they can't really see what he's doing.
The people who are on the same journey, and it's not even like he doing something out of the norm. Well, I guess it is for some people, but as far as the thing he's doing is just growing and maturing as a person.
Right.
It's not something that's just so outlandish that it's like, oh, I gotta go live with a monk for 6 years to grow as a person.
Like, no.
It's just like a lot of people feel like hip hop is more profitable staying in that 18 to 28, 29-year-old demographic. And with that, they have to continually project that image to hip hop viewers to maintain peak listenership. And Kendrick is showing that you don't have to do that.
And
you
I was
actually can grow with your fan base.
There you go. I was going to touch on that later on in the performance, because I think that comes up later in terms of actually growing with your audience and just not staying in that same box, that range that you mentioned. Mm-hmm. Like, it's okay to step outside of that. Like, it's more to us than just this box that they want to place us in. I was going to definitely touch on that later, but as far as just the Gen X, the snippet, like, I think you summed it up perfectly on that.
I appreciate you. Let's move a little forward. A powerful line from the unreleased song that seems to reverberate beyond the song and into the greater conversation of the moment, and critiques of the performance is as follows. You would not get the picture if I had to sit you for hours in front of the Louvre. And the Louvre being the huge art gallery. So This line illustrates the clear divide in the willingness to look beyond the surface and first to accept and then address the realities we as Black men and women and children are facing in this great American game. It also speaks to people only wanting to be entertained and not acknowledging the significance of art as a mode of communication and revolution in many of Kendrick's efforts as an artist, along with many other artists, writers, painters, and poets throughout history, particularly in America. And that's what I was talking about I was kind of getting into on the live we did last night with Absa. I just didn't want to say too much because it would start to dig into this, but for all intents and purposes, art has never strictly been a mode of entertainment.
Yeah.
Art has been a way to communicate complex thought into ways that can be more simplified. Art has never been something that you have to look at it or consume it immediately and understand the whole thing. If you've never been to an art gallery, and we're funny, we just brought up the Louvre, but you'll see people staring at a particular painting for hours trying to understand it.
Yeah.
That shows that art is meant in its inception, and as it evolves and grows over time, it is meant to elicit thought. It is meant to make you think. It is meant to explore the depths of your mind, body, and spirit to get you to a point of understanding at a higher level than you did before you witnessed whatever version of art this is. There is a lot of art that is built like that.
A lot.
But there's also a lot of art that is meant to simply be something for the moment. And there's nothing wrong with that. But also you have to be able to acknowledge that art is not solely meant to be consumed and ingested in the moment. And with that, if you start to do that, you'll start to have a greater appreciation for a lot of other art that is outside of the immediate microwavable, super easily consumable realm. And it's room in the art genres for both varying levels of art. And then he goes into the revolution about to be televised. You picked the right time, but the wrong guy. So I was watching it when I was writing this breakdown, and I noticed, and it's just a human element, being expressed in real time. He was shaking. He was visibly shaking, like his and I didn't realize it until like the light caught his jacket because his jacket wasn't buttoned up, so his jacket was flapping. I was like, "Oh shit, is he?" I skipped it back a couple times, like, "Oh, he's shaking." You know what I mean? And that could go into, not a part of the breakdown, but just him just having, at the end of the day, this is a human experience.
Yeah.
And then you look at it from that perspective, it's like, oh, he's aware of what this moment signifies. He is possibly, on average, about to be seen by at least 120 million people simultaneously. And he's taking this moment to present a message. And on top of that, that's just a huge thing. So I know that adrenaline was whooping his ass. So like, as he probably coming down off of the peak of the adrenaline rush.
Yeah.
Especially because that was when the first like blaring of the that blaring instrumental, when they raised their hands and kind of like awoke his NPC. Because I don't know if you noticed it, but while he was performing, he was only moving in one motion. And like kind of like when characters be like, before you select them, or when they just be doing stuff that don't have a bunch of animations exactly, they move in the same motion over and over. You know what I mean? So, so it's almost like he was being selected, like Kendrick, we choose you, and this is something I'm coming up with in this moment. But it's almost like that, like they picked, like they chose him, like the women in red chose him when they raised their hands, and then he stood up, kind of like how. Like in the old wrestling games, like when they were in the square, like before, like you could go on them. Screen. It was like, onale, viva la raza, about it, oh shit, I'm having a download. But like, before you would pick them, they would have like an animation that they would go into. So they were selecting him, and he did exactly. And then he did his stuff. He was like, the revolution about to be televised. You picked the right time with the wrong guy. But at that point, he's acknowledging he's already been selected. And then it goes into the women in red going into the Squabble Up animation. But also, I want to talk about, did you pick up anything from just that sentence? The revolution about to be televised. You picked the right time but the wrong guy.
Yes. Well, I more so kind of likened it to the beef in a sense. And the only reason why I say that is because I do feel as though this is kind of like a turning point in music, like in hip hop in general. Like a lot of things are changing in terms of like who's getting the spotlight, what's actually pushing through. And it's not all just the, you know, ass shaking music and things like that. It's things of thought and actual rappers pushing through and actually connecting through mainstream now. So in terms of that, I feel as though it kind of relates to that. But also, the revolution is about to be televised. You picked the right time with Drake. This is the time where he's supposed to have been taking his vacation and falling back. So this is the perfect or right time to attack, because I consider in this situation throughout the performance, if you liken it to the beat, Drake is the establishment,
Okay.
like the symbol or the label head of the establishment. So yeah, I'm attacking the establishment at the right time, but I'm the wrong guy because I'm the one that can actually get the shit done. Not just the right guy that y'all feel as though they can, you know, push the needle, but don't take him down. Like I'm the right guy. Well, I'm the wrong guy because I'm the right one that can take his ass down. Nobody else can do what I've done up to this point. So that's how I took it. But I'm pretty sure it's probably another way you could look at that. But I just look at it. I took it like that.
I got you. And the revolution about to be televised is a play on words from a work of literary art from Gil Scott Heron. The revolution will not be televised.
Right.
And then so if you've listened to that and then you pick up that Kendrick is, in essence, all these years later, like I'm going to, like at this point, whatever happens, like if a revolution actually is to happen, it'll actually be
televised.
It'll actually be televised. But what Gil Scott Heron was saying was the revolution, the part of the revolution that won't be televised is the revolution that happens internally.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or the stuff that we doing behind the scenes, the work that we're actually putting in that they won't see.
Yeah. And his direct quote was, it's just fixing yourself, like preparing yourself, getting your mind right, spirit right, all of that stuff. It can't be on TV because it's happening internally.
Right.
You know what I mean? So to flip that on his head, now, if we're asserting that Kendrick is likening what he said to that connection, it's like, okay, we're at the point now where we're attempting to mobilize, and now that'll have to be televised because not only do we have the advent of social media, but it's just everything is available now to be seen.
Right.
And now we're in that information age and the age of everything being visible. It's no way that we won't see it.
Yeah.
But some things that I had was, it serves as a call to arms to the people. It is time to get the revolution in motion. The term right time, wrong guy took two messages to me, and it applied to two different people. It applied to Trump and Kendrick for different reasons. For Trump is being the wrong guy to select in the time for a revolution led by the people.
Yeah.
And with Kendrick, being selected for the Super Bowl was good timing because of his explosive 2024, but he's the wrong guy to assume that was shuck and jive while having the ears, hearts, and minds of over 130 billion people at once.
Yeah.
Hence the revolution about to be televised. He ushered in a visual representation of said revolution in this performance by staging one of his own design in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
And in the second half of the body snippet, people dressed in America's colors come out of the GNX in large amounts. This could possibly signify Kendrick bringing his America to the Super Bowl, bringing Cali/Compton to the Super Bowl, black culture, etc.
Yeah, I mean, that's what he said, like going into TV off. He was like, you know, this is Compton. Like, this is GNX. Like, this is me presenting you with our perspective of where we come from and what we've gone through up until this point. So yeah, I can definitely see that.
Okay.
For sure.
And here we go into Squabble Up. The quote from the women dressed in red, somebody better squabble up, was hinting to the call to action from the revolution to be televised, reiterating it's time to fight. Red symbolizes in the flag valor, bravery, and hardiness.
Yep.
Which could explain why the women in red were the ones who chose to squabble up, and could speak to the overall strength and bravery of black women during times of revolution. Shout out to Sojourner Truth and Harriet Tubman, to say the least. The Squabble Up militant transition allows for the individuals to migrate into formation while Kendrick is chastised by Uncle Sam for being too loud, too reckless, and too ghetto, and told to tighten up if he knows how to play the game. So what did you think about the Squabble Up elements of the performance?
I did get that as far as like the militant aspect of it, of them basically all the chanting and the stomping and like how it's just so it's so rigid in a sense. Like I'm standing firm in my beliefs and I'm about to show you why. Because when they formed the American flag, it's supposed to be a symbol of stability, unity, patriotism. But you can also look at it because the fact that it's, you know, our people who built this country making the flag itself, like we're the ones that is really supposed to be symbolizing in this exact moment. So that's how I took it from that.
Yeah.
I like that.
And go ahead.
And I do like how just basically with Uncle Sam telling him how to play the game as he's playing it. Like, no. Like, that's not what we want you to do. But go to the next song. It'll more so play into, because I definitely feel so the song structure, like the flow of the songs, he definitely did it in a particular order. Like it was on purpose.
Okay.
So
this is deeper commentary into policing blackness by the white power structure. And what I'm saying is him being chastised by Uncle Sam.
Yeah.
But like I said, this is a deeper commentary into policing blackness by the white power structure in America. Uncle Sam being a representation of the American sentiment, particularly conservative-leaning middle American sentiment. Sam is urging Kendrick to soften his authentic presentation of himself and his culture to not alarm the uninitiated and intentionally oblivious to the struggles, culture, dynamics, authentic and unique presentation of an unapologetically black man in this very same America.
And that's what I really like about that, because when he said that you being too ghetto, I basically took it as they don't like us to fight back anything in terms of what's presented from the establishment. They want us to remain docile. They want us to stay in that box that you mentioned earlier. They don't want us to truly realize that potential in us banding together as a minority. And that's what, you know, most of these conservatives and just, you know, racist people in general are always afraid of. They always afraid of, what if we really ever flipped that switch and truly came together to fight back? We would overwhelm them. We would overpower them. We have all the power in our hands if we just come together as a complete unit. And they are afraid of that. They are afraid of that with their lives. So they use everything in their power within the system that they have to marginalize, to shut down different avenues, to limit our capabilities, to program you in a way that doesn't allow you to make your own decisions. You do what we tell you to do because this is how we want you to stay. So it's really, I hate that people just don't understand how powerful of a message that is. And just because he's not someone in a suit saying this, like it's not as powerful as someone like a presidential candidate saying the same thing. It's the same shit. It's the same message. It's whether or not you like the message or not.
Yeah. And then we go into Humble, which is the next song to play. As the group moves into formation, as DJ was saying earlier, it reveals Kendrick standing in the middle of the American flag. This could allude to a cultural and racial divide. I'm going to get it on the flow. That he is trying to highlight for the ones in the back. Yeah. On a more positive note, it could be him illustrating the flag being built by black people, and even deeper, black bodies being the catalyst for the construction of America as it currently stands, i.e., you know, slavery, us going through Reconstruction and Jim Crow and all of this stuff, and us continuing to be the catalyst for upward improvement in America through our inventions, our ingenuity, our actual labor, forced free labor.
Yeah.
Even now, through the prison system, et cetera, you know, so the divide, it could be, you know, from us not being properly shown the respect and being honored for the things that we've done in our contributing to the overall health of America, even going back to the Civil War and black people fighting in the Civil War just to come back home and be treated like shit, and wars to follow. You know what I mean? So it does show it that him standing in the middle of the flag just shows so many different levels to how America can and is divided. And then we go into this gives credence to the assertion he later makes in his prelude to Not Like Us, like I was saying earlier. And further in the humble segment, this section of choreographed dancers is all men, which could show a larger representation of the command of black men to be humble despite being architects of the nation they battle every day to exist in, while demonstrating elements of pure genius and creativity only to be robbed and marginalized in the process. To transition from humble, gunshots ring out from one of the male characters in red. I wonder if, while still in flag formation, is this assertion that gun violence is as American as the flag itself?
I would think so.
That was crazy.
I mean, I definitely agree with that because, well, no, we didn't invent guns and gunpowder. That came over from the Spaniards. But, but it's still like when you associate guns and weaponry, that's something that's attached to the United States because these European countries, for the most part, don't have the same type of gun laws and gun privileges and liberties as we do in the United States. Like, if anything, especially like in the UK, like, knife crime, like blades and things like that are a higher rate of death for a higher rate of usage than guns are. Like, you can't even register you can register for firearms, but for the most part, they don't sell them to the public. You can't even buy them. And even when you buy like those blades, you have to register those blades. Like, so they have a tracking system of all the blades that's out there.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of like, I would definitely, as far as the gun violence, that is unfortunately associated with our country for sure.
Yeah. And then also the red in the flag signifies blood being spilled as well. So looking at it, continuing it from the gun violence being as American as the flag itself, we live in a country in this day and age where we have Republicans who are more opposed to people with alternative lifestyles speaking to kids and saying that should be removed to defend the kids, as opposed to reviewing and changing the gun laws in America, because the number one cause of death in kids is gun violence. And that's just across any metric, any demographic. The number one cause of death in kids in America is gun violence. So that's why I say that the need to have weapons and to display acts with guns is as American as the American flag itself, at least by the way it's appearing to me to be presented in that element.
And what I don't understand in terms of like the gun laws and things like that, the type of weaponry that's available to the average person that trickles down to kids, these are military grade guns that's sold regularly, like in stores. Like, they had AR-15s when I worked at Dick's Sporting Goods at one point. They had AR-15s behind the register in the cases that you can just go in and buy.
Yeah, you can get them from Walmart too.
Like, so granted, you had to go through a lot of paperwork to sign up and get it, but the fact that it's just that readily available, what does the average person need with military grade weaponry? It makes no sense. There's no reason why you should have automatic rounds and like, if you just need something for protection, a regular handgun would suffice. Now, granted, it's still dangerous at the end of the day, but the fact that the level of accessibility to these type of high grade, weapons is insane. And it's not getting any better at all. There's no reason why children should be able to get these things and go up and shoot up schools.
Yeah.
It's insane, and no reform has been put in place to where it can regulate these things properly, because the other side feels though you're taking away the right to do X, Y, Z. So it's ridiculous. But go ahead. I don't want to get too deep into It's gonna piss me off.
So now we're moving into the next element of the performance. The widest angle of the entire show displays the scramble on the field.
Yeah.
But also stage 1 is coded in the lights in the stands.
Okay.
What is stage 1?
Stage 1 is the square.
So that's what you thinking it was?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, at least that's what I thought. I mean, I may be wrong.
Because I didn't know. I got an assumption,
Yeah.
but I don't. This is something I'm not sure of, so I'm gonna just say it.
Yeah.
I'm assuming stage 1 is a visual of him mobilizing and leading a demonstration or a protest. Have you ever walked your enemy down like with a poker face? As the legion of men he has rallied, marched with him in the street with aggression and intention. And that's kind of what I was thinking. Like maybe stage 1 of the revolution is actually protesting. Maybe. But let us know in the comments what y'all think that stage 1 represented.
Because stage 1, I mean, it could be the square because for the most part, when you look at a PlayStation controller, you read it as square, X, circle, triangle. So that's how you read it. So if you're just going into that order, if I walk my enemy down with a poker face, I'm going from square to the X. X meaning that I've selected my target and begin the assault. You know, it could flow that way because you're going, you know, in the order of operations.
And then after this, he migrated into the second part, which was the X button on the controller. So yeah, it makes sense.
So,
real quick, and this is to describe what we think was happening from DNA being followed by Euphoria.
Yeah.
DNA serves as a declaration to Uncle Sam and those watching that Kendrick, as well as Black Americans, have so many elements entrenched in our DNA, and they all should be respected and understood to further reach a level of resonance with us as Black people, and a reminder to Black Americans ourselves that we are more than what the white power structure has nestled into the minds of Middle America and the conservative right.
Yeah.
Euphoria echoes that statement, redirecting the enemy from Drake to the government, Trump especially. The 2-song couplet, in my opinion, represents the mobilization of a rebellion. And the lights also highlighted once Euphoria started, warning, wrong way. The flag group splits up to opposite ends of the stage, and Kendrick tries to lead them back together after watching them going the wrong way.
Yep.
That's what you thought too? Okay.
I did. It's right here.
So I'm gonna let you go ahead with Man at the Garden, and then I'm gonna talk on some theories that I heard.
Yeah.
That I don't know if I can. I mean, of course we can't confirm them, but they were interesting.
Yeah.
So what did you think about the Man at the Garden?
Well, I mean, I love that song in general, but in terms of what like the symbolism I got from it, and just basically continuing on from the DNA aspect of it, I said that we were realizing that we are worth more than what they sell us, meaning that we shouldn't settle for less. If you are living a positive and righteous life as a person, then we deserve the rewards and accolades that come with it. And this is the part where Uncle Sam, like, it's basically kind of like in Euphoria, like, you know, the actual term for Euphoria is like a, you know, what's the basically like a stroke of ideas. Like you having an epiphany. That's what I'm looking for.
Eureka.
Yeah. Like you having that moment like, oh, okay, no, this is the time. This is what we should do. And going into Man in the Garden, just kind of like actually putting those ideas into practice. And when he was like, you know, what Uncle Sam said, he said, oh, so you brought your homeboys with you, your cultural cheat code to duck one life. And I took that as America doesn't like us unifying and standing together, uplifting each other, but also holding each other accountable, meaning that if you're putting in the work, you should be able to reap those rewards because you're doing what's necessary to gain that next level and never allowing each other to fall short of one's potential. And the fact that he was like, no, we're going to duck one life because the fact that y'all really starting to mobilize and unify together, we don't like that. You know, so that was one of the biggest, like, other than the initial Uncle Sam moment, like that was the moment where he was really pissed off.
All right, we back. What were you talking about, DJ?
we just basically just going over Man at the Garden. He just asked me like my opinions on it for the most part. And I think, like I said, at this point of Uncle Sam's like journey through the game, this is one of the ones like he didn't like. He didn't like that. He said, because this is the only point in time where he said deduct a life.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So clearly that moment of unity really triggered the establishment of the game itself. Like, we don't like that. So What you say? You had some theories
Yeah.
about it?
The men dressed in white seemed to be gesturing and paying homage to the Bay. And there was a theory from Reddit that the fellas were humming White Rabbit melody from a San Francisco group called Jefferson Airplane in a doo-wop rendition.
Yeah.
Once again, Kendrick is addressing the people that find fault or meaninglessly aim at him for his journey, although he did it the right way.
Yeah.
He offers two options in his version of the song. In this version of the song, do you want the dangerous me or the famous me? He declares he deserves it all because he worked hard and he's earned it. But one of the theories was, well, it's a two-pronged theory. We discussed a bit of it last night on the stream with Absa. Shout out to Absa. Excuse me, from Whacked Out Mirrors when he said, I've lost plenty of friends, 16 to be specific.
Yeah.
And if you count all of the people that's dressed like that, it's 10 there.
Yeah.
And then it's one on each of the 6 light posts. So that could represent the 16 lost homies. And then, so you look at it from that perspective, like these people aren't even really here for real. You know, these are just the souls of a lot of his dead homies, or those 16 dead homies that he mentioned, watching over him and being there for him in this moment. And just all the moments in general, because they were also going back to Squabble Up. They were a few of them were like over him like this.
Yeah,
and
like when they was doing the
and they said one of the theories is like that they were doing spirit fingers or whatever, like just giving him energy to step into this or protecting him or whatever the case may be. And this leads into another sad theory about Man at the Garden. They are theorizing that Man at the Garden was actually the garden that was being represented was a cemetery. And if that's the case, and then you take that theory and look at it from the perspective of them being the only ones who were there with him in this rendition of Man at the Garden, then, you know, it's a much more somber tone to that song, but it's also glorious because, like, he's carrying on the legacy of the homies that he lost, and also he's showing the representation that he carries them with him throughout his life.
And they did, when the camera work, it did kind of, before they cut to him, they kind of, for like a couple seconds, really highlighted on one of the guys on top of the light post just laying there. It was just focused in on that for a brief moment. Then it panned down to him and the rest of the guys right there performing. Like, the cemetery, man. Okay,
And also,
that's deep.
And also, just even if none of that is actually the case, and it's really just 16 guys from the Bay.
Yeah.
And the guy laying on the top of the street light, that's paying homage to the first ever piece of content that PG Lang ever released. They had a guy hanging from, well, not hanging from, but laying on a light post like that as well.
Okay.
And then you can look at it just on some everyday black kid growing up in certain parts of neighborhoods. You had to be in the house by the time the streetlights came on, but you look at it at them and they found solace in being under the streetlight. So these are just kids from the hood, you know, doing what they do in the hood, like just showcasing their talent and abilities in places where people wouldn't expect it to exist, especially with Man at the Garden being such a positive song.
Yeah.
And then it kind of make you feel like with it being doo-wop, it take you back to like New Jack City when they were singing like at the barrel, they had the fire and all of the other stuff. Just like the rose growing from the concrete aesthetic.
Yeah.
And the song raps, excuse me. And then Uncle Sam emerges and he taunts Dot for bringing his homeboys with him, which has several different meanings now that we just discussed that, or possible meanings. Critiques him using them as a cultural cheat code. It tells the scorekeeper to deduct one life. The deduct one life part has a lot of meanings, especially going into the song that is followed by, and a lot of theories on that song itself. How do you feel about
Peekaboo?
Yeah.
Damn. I didn't make that connection.
Because I never really wanted to give it light. Like, so I never watched any videos on the theory of Peekaboo having a connection to
damn.
Triple X. Rest in peace to him. So
yeah.
Because
that makes me sad. I'm not gonna lie to you, that shit make me sad.
But yeah, but it ain't even really no other than that because
Yeah.
it kind of seems like, well, yeah, other than the Triple X thing, how do you feel about that aspect?
Well, I mean, like I was saying before, I think this was like really that moment, like in the game itself, you pissed the boss off. You made him mad, so he did. Because you know when you fight a boss and you beat the first wave of their abilities, then you beat him, he get pissed off, then he come back with a whole new wave of abilities and shit. I think this is that moment in the game, like, oh, okay, you beat the first level, but now I'm finna come at your ass even harder. But then Kendrick kind of went a different route with it in terms of with the songs he, went into next. But that's how I took it. Like, oh yeah.
And how do you feel about the phrase "deduct one life"? Like, are you just looking at it from a video game standpoint? Like, because sometimes, like in the video games, when you fight a certain level of the bosses, even if you beat them with a higher level of health, sometimes when you fight them in that next stage, you lose, you regress to a lower level of life sometimes. Like let's say like your health meter just goes down some, and theirs are like stretch across the whole fucking screen, and you just got this much life. You know what I mean?
This shit remind me of have you ever played God of War?
A very small amount. I didn't play it enough to know anything about it though.
That's what you just mentioned. This is the exact scenario of God of War. You'll beat the first shit, they'll get pissed off, and this shit go from this end of the screen all the way to the next one. So but I don't know. Other than just the actual video game aesthetic, I can't really think of anything else like in this exact moment or what that could mean exactly. Unless you got something.
It kind of has me like outside of the video game and him deducting a life from Kendrick, just making the road going forward that much harder. Since it's like, okay, you gonna if I see you as cheating with this with the cultural cheat code, you bringing your people with me. Or bringing your people with you, I'm just going to make it that much harder for you to move forward by taking a life. So now let's say you have 4, now you have 3, and you have to do stuff that might have taken 4 lives, but now you got to do it in 3. So it's kind of just like,
or you losing, or you losing the ability to have the machine push you in a way to elevate you to the next level.
Yeah,
you losing that.
And that's what I wasn't about to say that exact thing, but I was about to say just like on the macro, you know how we have to work twice as hard to get half as far.
Right.
You feel what I'm saying? So it's kind of like he may have just put a further stipulation on it. So like, I bet you want to empower the people who come from where you come from when you really just we should have just been able to pick you and you leave them and you do what we want you to do here. That doesn't necessarily help them. But since you did, bet I'm going to throw a weighted vest on you.
Yeah, because that's the cultural cheat code. You bringing them with you.
Yeah, because now you actually helping them, and we don't want that.
Yeah, you helping them, you enlightening them to a whole nother level of success. And you putting the hope and the false ideals in their mind that they can do it too.
Yeah, you got them, you got them feeling like they can affirm themselves. If we didn't put you in place to do that.
No.
But now you're using your position of power to empower others. So it's like, okay, so how can we counteract that? We're just going to take some of your power away from you.
Yeah, we can't have too many of y'all's in here. It's only so many people of y'all that we can have in here, okay?
Yeah.
And we still assert our dominance.
Yeah,
so,
we only like a certain type of black. So when you come in here, you got to assimilate a certain way. You got to be more Booker T than W.B. Du Bois. And we go into Peekaboo. Peekaboo begins, and we are back to the gaming controller symbolism.
Yeah.
As I stated earlier, the X or the cross button is a decision-making button. Kendrick decides to lean further into his culture at the behest of Uncle Sam in an electric performance of this song inside of the X button. There are multiple theories to Triple X Tentacion being linked to Kendrick Lamar by way of this song, and performing it inside of the X has done nothing to dispel those theories.
Yeah.
While I choose not to speak on the extent of those theories, I can respect the connective thread that is being binded by the previous theory and this performance. The theory is also connected to the Helping Hand sample and the Helping Hand challenge done by Triple X while he was alive.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like you said, bro.
And one more thing, how the X was visualized 3 separate times during his performance of Peekaboo.
Yeah. And it just, like you were saying the other day, bro, all these coincidences, like that Kendrick, like his coincidence counter, it's just like insane at this point.
Yeah.
Like you can't tell me that all these coincidences is just literally coincident. Like you can't tell me that. Like it's some type of merit, some type of validation in there somewhere. Even if not everything is correct, it's something there. Like he knows something. He's looking at something. He's researching something to put out here in his message. Like he said in the Squabble video, everything means something.
Yeah.
Like, so I refuse to believe that some of this stuff don't have no merit. But I'm not gonna really speak on the X stuff though.
Yeah.
Like I just don't. Yeah, when it comes to people dying, I don't really want to
theorize on possible connection stuff because it kind of off-putting for me seeing people do it.
Yeah, so I don't really like doing that. So I don't want to go too deep into it. But I'm just gonna say the coincidences are definitely there.
Yeah, so if we even just give Kendrick, and this is just on him in general, if we give him 60% of the connections that are being attributed to him, he's a genius.
Yeah.
Really, if we give him 40%,
Yeah,
because a lot of them, especially by people who aren't necessarily born and bred in this culture, it be reaches because they don't understand a lot of the cultural nuances. So they may see a specific thing and interpret it a different way, but also sometimes that's very good because a lot of people, especially a lot of people who aren't black per se, they perceive Kendrick from a literary position. Mm-hmm. Like you'll have a lot of people, like they'll be teaching his stuff in class, you know, they'll be looking at it from a poetry and just outright penmanship aspect, and they receive it on that level. So they're receiving it from a higher level of art than a lot of people who are just casually consuming it.
right.
So even though they may miss some of the subtle cultural nuances, their attempt at understanding it is filled with more appreciation than a lot of the casual consumers who might get the cultural nuance. So I think the proper marriage would be people who have both the appreciation and are able to understand the cultural nuances and have a greater understanding of the broader scope that he's trying to put together.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is elements to take from both sides, even though both sides or two of the sides may not have the full scope. Because someone who, like myself, who wasn't like a literature major or didn't take in a lot of like, I'm not a learned poet as far as like schooling and stuff like that. I just picked it up because it's something I like doing.
Yeah.
But it's people like, okay, so he's presenting these elements that come from these older poems and he pulls something from this movie from the 70s and all of these things start to line up and it's like it's a much grander presentation that's being made other than, oh yeah, I don't know what he's doing, so he's not doing shit. It's just outside of your scope. It's just outside of your scope of perspective.
Yeah.
Like Tyler the Creator said, he's like a lot of art is built on reference point. So if you don't have that point of reference, you're not gonna understand it in the way that it was intended to be received.
Especially on Chronocopia is definitely one of those ones. I can't wait till we actually get to that album and break it down because it's definitely a lot of stuff that I've seen and heard about, you know what I'm saying, the actual themes of the album and what he actually was trying to convey. Like it's deep. So I do agree with that.
We'll definitely get into it when time permits. Because I think it's some albums from 2024 that deserve like that more in-depth attention as far as album breakdowns are concerned.
Yeah.
Peekaboo transitions to Luther and all of the stars featuring SZA. And this is the moment where, you know, they come together for their collective part in the performance. The performance breaks down from an interjection from a female quartet in all white while covering all shades of black women. I thought that was dope. The women kind of egg Kendrick on as he plays with the thought of running, Not Like Us. Oh no. What song? Alleging it as their quote unquote favorite song. And that a certain someone likes to sue. He decides to continue to play the game and segues into Luther, which is performed on the triangle button, which possibly represents a shift in point of view, citing the controller icon reasoning from its designer.
And also too, real quick, I kind of think that's also a double entendre with the women in the this is their favorite song part. What is Drake normally known for in terms of his audience?
It being women?
Yeah. So
yeah.
So the fact that it's women, this is their favorite song. as a diss to him, it's kind of like, bro, I'm stripping everything from you. Your identity, your audience, your fan base. I'm stripping everything down to the bare bones to make you realize and understand, like, there's so much work that need to be done here. And I got to strip you of all of it to make you see and understand. Start you from ground zero and work your way back up. But of course, Drake not taking it like that. But I just think that's kind of.
And I also looked at it like there being just the mass public.
Yeah,
so many people attach themselves to the song as far as, just enjoying it and pushing it to the level it got to. But that's a very interesting theory too, because he was talking to those women, and those women were dressed in white, which means they have some type of significance as well, because they only appeared in that specific in that Peekaboo segment, and then they walked with him as he did the Not Like Us. So that was very, I'm interested to know about that. So let us know in the comments. Okay, so the designer, the point of view thing. Mm-hmm. And the point of view could be from the element and the energy that he was pushing with Peekaboo, then shifting to a much more, I guess, docile and softer tone. So it's him going from heavily masculine to stepping into the femininity, and that being accompanied by SZA could, lend credence to the point of view shifting. And then they have the dynamic of the red and blue. Mm-hmm. And I'm also curious to know in the comments if y'all have any theory on the women dancers being dressed in blue.
Okay.
The song embodies Kendrick's softer side and welcomes SZA into the performance, which is more in line with the sentiments of Uncle Sam, i.e. palatable commercial records.
Yep.
Justice and strength represented by blue in the flag could be reflective of the perseverance and strength and the love spoken about in the chorus. Mm-hmm. This could also symbolize the union between man and woman, which then creates a stabilizing and unifying force in the revolution, which is symbolized by the entire dance team performing in unison now. If you look at it in the other parts of the performance, the entire group is not performing in unison.
Right.
Everybody might be doing their own specific things, but during the performance of All the Stars, everybody was performing the same moves regardless of where they were placed on the grander controller / stage.
Yeah, cause on the square and the X, they was all doing different shit at the same time. Yeah, you right.
But by the time they got to this, and I think it's somehow built into the union of the men and women. Like if the energies
align.
Yeah. And now we are able to unify in this. So now we have both sides of the revolution. We have the woman side and we have the man side, and then that unifies all of the people, because now y'all have the energy to represent you on whatever side you stand on in the revolution. So now you can unite in that commonality. And now we're talking about All the Stars with the revolutionary tone and unifying of the masculine and feminine energies. This verse now feels like a direct address at the sitting president, Donald Trump. Tell me what you're gonna do to me. Confrontation ain't nothing new to me. You can bring a bullet, bring a morgue, bring a sword, but you can't bring the truth to me. There's power in truth. You can kill a revolutionary, but you can't kill the revolution, as quoted by Fred Hampton.
Yep.
Being that Kendrick knows the truth, it's not something Trump can offer in an attempt to disarm him. He also vows not to be compromised by gifts and will continue to work with those he trusts and stand on his morals regardless of the outcome. This is taking place on the Circle button platform and can stand as an affirmative decision made, continuing the connection to the button design of the PlayStation, because X and Circle were both decision-making icons as originally designed. Yep. X being the one that's more actionary. Mm-hmm. And lastly, with that part, I say Uncle Sam arrives again, this time excited and happy to share his approval of the performance in the game since his last input. He's telling Kendrick not to mess this up and stray away from the nice and calm aesthetic the last two songs leaned into, only to be interrupted by the reluctant and intentional Kendrick, who continues to show those rules do not apply to him.
Nope.
And then we get to
they not like us.
Are you really about to do it? What you think about this part?
I love it. I loved it. I really did. And then I didn't really catch the part that they like to sue when it first came on. Like that actually went over my head completely when I first saw it. Like I didn't really catch that until like the second and third watch back. So the fact that it just really opened up and he just played like kind of like the key part of the song for the most part, I enjoyed it for sure.
Yeah, that song. Are you really about?
And I like the choreography too when they were stepping, they were doing the two step like all the way down. That just fire to me, bro.
It's just some black shit.
Yeah, I like.
Are you really about to do it? Uncle Sam exits stage left. Kendrick shares a moment with the women in white who seem to represent innocence, as they seem astonished that he's gonna perform this song.
You really about to do it?
It's a cultural divide. I'm gonna get it on the flow. Speaks to not only the American culture in its divide in regards to minorities and poor groups, but within black culture itself, and he's gonna attack it head on. 40 Acres and a Mule, this is bigger than the music. An ode to the post-slavery promise to black people that they will receive land and resources to position ourselves for the present and future generations that we never got. And that ties into basically him making a statement towards reparations on the biggest stage in the world. They tried to rig the game, but you can't fake influence. This part speaks to the Drake beef and the greater conversation of culture versus commerce, and how this moment in 2024 signifies a shift back to thoughtful art and integrity and authentic cultural connectivity within the music. And then we get into Not Like Us. Yeah, I'm tripping, I'm sliding back like bop. And then he get into a song. But what you got for just the actual performance of Not Like Us? What were some of your favorite moments of it?
I mean, like I said, when they was coming down, like the actual runway part of it, when they were doing the two-step, and how he was, like at that point, and that's what he was actually kind of getting into choreography himself and doing the moves with them. So the fact that, to let you all know that I can perform too, like I can do this, but of course, I'm meant for a bigger role in the performance itself, so I can't do everything. But just know, like, I can get down too. So I really like that. And of course, I mean, just the highlight of it, I mean, I think you said it last night, like Serena was definitely the highlight, because I don't think anybody expected her to actually be there doing it with her history with Compton, her history with Kendrick, and of course her history with Drake, obviously. That was just one of probably the biggest, I'm not gonna say the biggest moment, but it was definitely one of the biggest moments of the performance. The fact that she was there, crip walking to this song, of pretty much signaling the death of Drake for the most part. So, and then it's not the first time she's thrown shots at him, because I forgot which award show it was that she was like presenting on the award. And I think it was for Kendrick, and she was like,
maybe the ESPYs.
Yeah, I think it
well, yeah, it would have had to have been the ESPYs if she was presenting. I mean, I don't know. Go ahead.
But yeah, I think it was the ESPYs, because I think a snippet of Not Like Us had played, and she was like, "Yeah, you should all know, never to beef with Kendrick Lamar."
Oh, yeah, and then she started crip walking again on stage. Okay,
yeah.
Hey, that's probably why he called her too. I forgot about that all the way. So that's probably because she crip walk after that, because you remember he had brought her name up in the, I think the second verse on
don't know ever speak on Serena.
Yeah. Your homeboy needs subpoenas. Predator moving flocks. Name got to be registered and placed on neighbor watch. But yeah, let's not do that.
Lean on you niggas.
Another line of watch. All right, because we're gonna be rapping the whole song. But he disses Drake in the way he feared for months and led him to sue. In my opinion.
Yeah, of course.
He looks straight down the barrel of the camera and says,
"Say Drake."
Say Drake. I hear you like I'm young. With the most maniacal smile that I've seen in a long time. The crowd erupts for the A minor in unison. Serena recreates the Wimbledon crip walk moment on the Super Bowl stage, reclaiming her expression and voice on the world's biggest stage, and shooting back at Drake for years of him dissing her on record.
Yeah.
So I just look at it from the perspective of, like, Drake has said so many things about her in music, and she's not an artist, so she's not able to actually respond. So in this, she took her ability to regain her voice, not only, in a certain, just nudging Drake back, but also, like, all of the backlash that she got from doing the crip walk on the Wimbledon stage, after winning a match, and how that just led and turned into this huge thing about Black expression, and for her being able to reclaim her personal Black expression on an even larger stage in front of 130 million people was a huge representation of just Black people in general being able to reclaim their voice and step and speak in their power. So I thought it was dope, like even outside of the Drake shit.
Yeah.
And then you go into just looking at what she got on. She got on a fucking tennis dress, or tennis skirt rather. So that just tells it's like, okay, so this is representative of that tennis moment. More so than anything. Like the low hanging fruit would be the Drake shit.
Yeah.
Cause like a lot of people might know that moment more than they know the Wimbledon moment.
Yeah.
And that's because when we was talking about, I was like, that was the Wimbledon shit.
Yeah,
Because I remember the meme of her doing it. You know what I'm saying? So I was reminded,
I didn't even know that until you told me.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. So like a lot of people are more aware of the Drake shit.
Yeah.
But like when you look into it and what it also could signify, just like I was saying about point of reference.
Yeah.
Like if you understand it from that, it's like, oh, this is multi-layered. Like her dancing at the Super Bowl is a double entendre in itself. You know what I mean? So, and then it goes into TV Off.
Yeah.
The final song of the performance, Mustard appears, the PG Lane Army or Militia appears on all the button platforms, possibly signifying they now control the game.
Yeah.
The dancers in red, white, and blue march in place. The PG Lane militia seem to be celebrating or revolting, and the Bay Area boys or the Angels, aka Lost Homies, are holding down their hometown as they do best. The Sudanese and Gaza flag is waved by a protester, and all the different factions came together to send a final message. Game over.
And to be honest with you, as far as like all the songs and the set pieces that's performed, TVR is probably my favorite one.
Yeah, that shit was lit.
Like when Mustard came out there, because
That was unexpected too.
Yeah, like I don't know why I didn't think that Mustard wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
But the fact that he popped out with him and that it was just fire.
That was dope that he allowed him to be a part of that moment, because Mustard's name being called is just as a bigger moment as anything else that happened on that song.
Yeah.
It's one of the bigger moments on the album, because before I heard the album, I was seeing Mustard everywhere.
Yeah.
And now he got a partnership with Hines and
Yep.
all this other shit. So like Mustard has become a much more visible household name as well. So it's like it was all their partnership created another huge song. You know what I mean? So, and him, yelling Mustard like that just put Mustard in a level of visibility that he hadn't had with, the more broader masses.
the mainstream. Like,
So I thought
like
it was
we
dope.
knew him.
Yeah, because he's been holding down the West for over a decade.
Yeah.
But now, at least for this very moment, like he is synonymous with mainstream America as far as music consumption, being that he was in front of 130 million people. Wow, his song, one of the bigger songs recently from him, has been released, and it also should pull in viewership and people listening to his last album, Faith of a Mustard Seed, which actually was pretty good. I listened to it the other day.
It is. And the fact that they won all those Grammys, like it just further like cementing like his place in this moment in hip hop, and just to the broad audience.
He did just win 5 Grammys.
Yes, bro.
Yeah, he did just win 5 Grammys,
Like
and now he is attached to, because GNX probably finna do his numbers at the 2026 Grammys, and it's already, so he's another time over platinum record producer with GNX, and the multiple songs he produced on GNX. So yeah, Mustard in his wave right now.
That's why Hitmaker was hating. Oh, lame ass nigga.
Yeah, that's another topic for another day that I would be more than happy to delve into, probably on a Decipher Saturday.
Yeah.
But thank y'all so much for tuning in to another episode of Deciphered. If you like this, be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Sharing is important, liking is important, comment is important, but if you can do all three, it's extremely important. So like I said earlier, if you want to join and become a member, you can become a YouTube member directly through YouTube, or you can become a decoder by joining the Patreon and selecting one of those many tiers, or you could become a free patron member and just be able to get in and have conversations with us directly in the Decipher chat. So other than that, thank y'all for tuning into this episode. I'm Skip.
I'm DJ.
And we're out of here, y'all. Peace.